I know you feel me.
You know what it is, episode 11 of the Swanglin Show. We're in the casa, holding it down. It's Joshua P. Dunn today. The P is for Portugal, because you might want to go there with your family on a bitch-ass vacation. Chilling with me to my immediate right, I got the motherfucking fickle freckle boy. The Blue Devil, Cary, Ohio's own. The father of three, the lover of all pieces of furniture. Newkleus, what's poppin'?
Same old, same old. Here to do the damn show.
The
Love
damn
it.
show.
God bless y'all for listening.
Now, since we know that the Swanglin Show is the dopest fucking podcast in the universe, if you had to pick one word to describe what the people are about to hear, what would you say?
Swanglin.
It's fucking swangling. So, let's talk about some shit that's in the news, heavy on social media, buzzing right now. This story about this actor, this dumbass motherfucker named Jussie Smollett.
Yeah, alright, so Jussie Smollett is an actor of some sorts. Not familiar with the dude prior to this happening.
I think he was on Empire.
Yes, I'm not an Empire watcher, but I wasn't a cable when that came out. I wasn't a regular cable watcher. So, and even today, I'm not really a big cable watcher. Anyways, point being is, I was not familiar with the show and him. But anyways, this happens. I recalled he had gotten a threatening letter or something like that, and then like a week later, he gets mugged, and he claimed it was some MAGA Trump supporter white people, and it turned out the video evidence and all sorts of stuff was able to prove it was these two African gentlemen. Not real sure. I wanted to say maybe they were African, and I don't want to just say they were African American
Brothers or something, right?
Yeah, they were. But anyways, he gave them false description. They found out it was somebody else. They brought the dudes in. Long story short, they found an investigation, found out he was lying. He'd orchestrated the whole thing. And then he gets a plea deal out of it, and he walks away. He basically has to chunk his, what was his bond or bail, whatever. It was like $500,000 and called it even. But now, people are outraged in the city. The police commissioner of Chicago was outraged. And Rahm Emanuel, the city mayor, came out at a press conference. I saw a little bit of it, and was super outraged. And they were trying to bill him $130,000
for the legal proceedings.
It was essentially like some other shit and time and money and this and that. And some people are calling for the prosecutor, the lead prosecutor, to call for her job resignation or whatever over it because of he got this preferential treatment. Her argument was we do thousands of cases like this every day. We do plea bargains, and this is nothing new. And actually,
so people, according to her, what she's saying is that it's that frequent for someone to fucking completely create falsehood of a hate crime.
I'm not sure, but essentially she was just arguing that they do plea deals all the time, and that actually they made out on the deal a little better than they do on most. And so she was just whatever. But
because a hate crime is not something that is a laughing matter.
And then they have a false hate
deal.
Yeah, and I think this man has a prior conviction in 2007 of giving false information to the LAPD, I believe.
I mean, but who hasn't lied to the cops before?
Well, he gave a false name and stuff like that, and it was a weird kind of thing where he made a fake kind of deal, which is interesting. It seems like this may be a pattern of him, of I don't know. We'll see how it all turns out for him, because now that he's walked away with it, and I have no problem with him getting a plea deal and all that stuff. That's the way the legal system works, and you can make it work to your advantage. You walk away, whatever, then so be it. And I have no problem with the prosecutor doing it too, because she just made her county quite a bit of cash.
Well, my issue with the whole entire scenario is, what is his motive for doing it?
Well,
was it a publicity stunt to try and further his career?
I think it was a publicity stunt to try to further his career. I think he was using the fact that he was African American and gay as leverage, and I think he always felt like in my opinion, I don't even know this man, but in order for someone to have done this crime, they would have had to have felt like wherever I don't know, the angle he was playing on, it makes me think that he felt like those particular things were angles that should be working for him in his career, and they weren't. So he had to falsify this kind of thing to like point them out and accentuate them.
Well,
whatever.
I didn't know who the fuck he was before this happened.
Exactly.
But now I do, so I guess.
Yeah. We'll see him on Dancing with the Stars in like fucking 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I hope he can dance better than he gets beat up, because that's a lying ass motherfucker, which I think is a cornball fucking move. It's one thing to, it's like, if you're gonna fucking stunt in front about something, why that?
All right, it's like one thing to like, I guess, lie to cops in the and we're talking in the street sense of like to not give information or something of that nature. That is like one thing, and that is not cooperating with an investigation and blah blah blah, legally. But that's completely different than like falsifying up a report. And whether it's a robbery or like domestic violence or any kind of false reports, should be taken seriously, just as serious as the crimes that they're being committed of. There's actually like people that kind of have that philosophy of like, and think that it should be treated as such. If you charge somebody with rape, falsely accuse them, that you should be looking at rape lengthy charges as well.
And it is frequent in that sector of like sex crimes and stuff that there are people that cry wolf and get people convicted with no evidence, and there's a lot of cases like that have been overturned.
Yes.
And have been large public deals.
Yeah.
People lying about getting raped, and either way, if you're lying,
it ruins people's lives, and that's my biggest problem with this is that part of it is the falsification part, because of all like there's plenty like there's plenty of people that have real hate crimes that are not taken seriously because of people like him abusing it, because they want to say, oh well, whatever, there's this example of someone who's done it before. Why isn't this guy doing it? And I know that that's wrong and unfair, but we all know that people do that.
Yeah, that is true.
If there's one gold digger out there, we've pointed him out before in different situations. Well, there was, and so we're talking, celebrities and this and that and various scenarios, but like, we know what it is, and just try to be real about it.
Well, if you're listening to Swanglin Show episode 11, and people are fucking with you on some hate crime shit, you gotta report some shit like that, because them type of people don't need to be out here. I'm kind of like against the whole concept of imprisonment in general as a punishment, but if anybody should be behind bars, it's the fucking douchebags that pull hate crimes and gender-related crimes, sex crimes, things that are race-related, shit like that. Them people are fucking scumbags. Fuck them.
I think that this man, Jussie Smollett, I think he actually probably needs to get some therapy of some sort. I think he's got some kind of issue where he felt it necessary to do this. I don't think it's like he's like a criminal, and like the crime he committed was, I think, something that could be fixed if he had, maybe had some counseling and some therapy or something to figure out why he's doing what the hell.
Yeah, go get some fucking help, bro.
But best of luck to him in the future, and I'll see you on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck Jussie Smollett.
We were just talking about we wish him well at the end, and we should have a fuck Jussie Smollett just to be fucking. People would be like, yeah, fuck him, after we were just wishing him well. They wouldn't even think about it.
I wonder if it would be controversial for the fuck Jussie Smollett t-shirt to pop up on the internet. I'm sure it probably already exists. But speaking of celebrities being on some fuck shit, we're talking about the Swanglin Show episode 11. Big time shit in the news. Platinum recording artist Cardi B admits that she ran some dude's pockets or some shit while she was a stripper, and he was trying to solicit her for sex.
We've talked about Cardi B this be like the third time, bro.
I guess she's the topic of conversation.
She is the topic of conversation. I have no problem with it though, like, because it is, each time it's been something that was fucking like kind of worthy, it was like relevant and everything. She's just in the news like that.
Now, people are comparing this to like, where's the severity of punishment involved? Like, why is she not being persecuted like motherfuckers like R. Kelly, Bill Cosby? What do you think? You think that's equal?
Well, it'd be like going after like Tupac back in the day because he referenced he used to slang drugs to get where he is now. And Jay-Z and all them. Like it's one. It depends. There's like statutes of limitations. I don't know if those have passed on those. Like probably not. But like I mean, unless someone comes forward with some really good evidence,
right? Until there's a victim, where's the crime? Just because she said she did it doesn't mean that she did it.
That's true too, and she could play that way too. But I know she won't because she was being real at the time, and that's kind of On the flip side, the fucking faggot ass Alex Jones dude in his court proceedings acted and went and said that all his shit's phony and nefarious, and he plays a character in this show. At least she's being real about her fucking court proceedings and like how she's gonna if she has to go about it. She's not gonna say she's saying like she did it. Like she's not recanting saying, "Oh, I was just playing to be right. Being on rap shit or whatever." I ain't real. She is real.
Well, one thing about this whole scenario that is, if it was that type of action from a male counterpart, it would be saw in a way worse light as a more predatory of an offense, and people would be heated about that shit.
Yeah, and it's I don't condone that behavior. I'm interested to see if any of it's taken seriously. Maybe a prosecutor picks it up and like puts a call out, like kind of what the R. Kelly prosecutor in Chicago basically put it out there and was looking for stories about R. Kelly and was wanting people to come forward.
Well, I think from the flip side of it, though, also,
I don't think that'll happen.
If you're a dude out here and you're trying to buy and solicit sex from a stripper, you are fucking retarded, and you deserve to kind of get robbed because, why would you do that?
Yeah, there's definitely I don't want to say just because you're committing a crime means you deserve to have a crime committed against you, because just because you drink a few beers doesn't mean you deserve to be murdered or something.
I'm not just trying to be judgmental. I'm trying to say that you're a sucker.
No. I want to clarify though. Yeah. I want to clarify that that's not what I'm saying. But yeah, definitely these guys were marks. They were easy victims because they wanted sex, and they were, she played on the fact that all they wanted was, her body or whatever, and she was going above their mind.
I wonder if people named Mark are upset that their name gets used in that kind of context. What about people that are called like Johns and shit?
Yeah.
Do you think your son, deep down, is going to be like, I'm not a fucking John, but my name is John?
He's going to have to clarify that at some point, I'd imagine.
This is the type of things we wonder about on the Swanglin Show. So we want to give a shout out to the listeners, all the people that's been tuning in every week on the People's fucking podcast, the Swanglin Show. Now, the shit with Cardi B, like with people in that big of a role in entertainment news and that much level of success, right? It seems like these cats keep toppling. It's like every week there's a new accusation against somebody, or somebody did this type of publicity stunt or some stupid shit. Do you think that that's like the type of landscape where the world is in, to where it's like it's really a here today, gone tomorrow type of thing, to where if you don't act like this and do this outlandish shit for attention, does your star really fade that much faster?
Well, look at
because at some point you got to have some integrity. You know what I mean? And
well, yeah. Well, that's the difference. If you have
like that, what the fuck is that?
If you have the integrity, you will be able to withstand it, because the people that don't, I don't know. It all depends, man. Because Lady Gaga comes to mind because she used to do outlandish shit all the time, but she also has artistic credibility.
And the way she was reaching out and doing shit was from a creative standpoint. It wasn't from like a personal standpoint.
Mocking pop culture.
Yeah. She wasn't like saying, oh, I fucking used to rob motherfuckers that were paying me to dance, or she's not taking advantage of children, or
not at all.
Not faking a fucking hate crime like Fuckboy from the fucking TV show we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For real.
So there is different levels to it. And I guess when you think of all them other people, and then you put them into the light with the same person as somebody like you mentioned, Lady Gaga. She's a bigger star than all of them. So I guess, no, it doesn't burn slower. You're just a dumbass.
No. But my point of it was like, look at her now. She ain't doing outlandish shit now. She's, I guess in a sense, settle down is in her lane. You know what I mean? And does what she does and how she does it. And she no longer, essentially, my guess is she no longer feels the need that she has to do that. Maybe she did it to get attention to be popular, or, who's to say, but she is done with outlandish shit. She has the artistic credibility, and that's why her career has lasted. Now, if she were someone else, I don't want to crap on any particular artist, but, like, if she were a crappier artist, and you keep doing outlandish stuff just to get attention to people to buy your records, and it's crap, then it ain't gonna work. Like Kurt Cobain's records sold because they actually were fucking good, not because he blew his brains out.
Well, I'm sure it probably sold more after he blew his brains out. We're gonna have to pull. We're gonna have to pull the numbers on that because I'm pretty sure.
No, but my point is that if he was dog shit as an artist, it wouldn't have mattered what. Then the music wouldn't have mattered, and it wouldn't have stood the test of time. The music stood the test of time because it was great music.
Yeah, that's true. Because although sometimes a turd can sell.
Yeah, it doesn't sell forever.
There's
a lot of one-hit wonders and singles and shit like that. Some of the biggest selling singles of all time are one-hit wonders.
That's an interesting bit of information because it does seem like, especially in today's music world, you can fade out real fucking quick.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that fade out quick have good records. They make good music.
Yeah.
It's just, there's multiple variables involved. They might not have the budget behind them anymore. Or
bad management.
They
signed the wrong contract.
Exactly. They could have had someone running the show financially that lost, and they should have been successful, and they weren't.
Yeah. I've seen, I've watched a lot of shows, a lot of artists, and I've seen a lot of acts, get shelved by a label when that didn't prioritize them properly, when they could have had more in their career. And I've seen great acts disband and things like that, and it wasn't always it just I've seen a lot of that, and it's not always the act's fault.
Well, one thing is for sure, to last and stand the test of time in the entertainment world, especially in music or film or anything like that, you have to be the type of cat that's got some real charisma. You gotta be the person that is bright and vibrant, right? So
yeah, superstar.
We're gonna talk about the word charisma and name off some people that we think are charismatic. I'm gonna go off the top. I'm gonna think some of the most iconic people in history. People like Marlon Brando, Elvis, Willie Nelson,
Barack
Obama, Snoop Dogg. I feel like is a great.
Yes.
And some people would even argue to say our current president of the United States, Donald Trump.
Honestly, I would have said that 20 years ago. You'd asked me, I would have been like, hell, motherfucking yeah. Now I think he's a little over the hill as far as that, but he is capable of it. Totally, that's why he has the masses he does.
Oh, the dude's balls are huge.
He's a marketing genius.
He will say whatever he feels like saying. So, from that standpoint, I guess, I don't know, is that charisma? How do you say it? Charisma?
I'll take that back. I don't think Trump is charismatic anymore. I think there was a time where he had a little bit of charisma. I think now he knows what to say. In the sense, he knows the right things, the words, the punch, and the emotions to draw from. He's a good orator, and he can sell, he can bamboozle a lot of people, but he can't bamboozle anyone or everyone.
But you also see very charismatic people in the sports world.
Yeah, tons.
There's people like, even going back in the day from in our childhood, Ozzie Smith. Magic Johnson. Deion Sanders.
Yes, very charismatic.
Known throughout his entire career for being super flamboyant, charismatic.
Yeah.
And now even in today's sports world, the people that are boisterous and a lot of the times the people that talk the most shit, the camera's going to show up to see you talk shit. I feel like a lot of charisma in sports and in music, I think a lot of it really stems from pro wrestling. And it might sound crazy, but a lot of these people idolize people like Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and the epic smooth talkers from the professional wrestling business.
Yeah, everyone's seen Ric Flair do his thing and all that, and it was in our households as kids. You learn how to talk the talk, walk the walk, whatever, and then I mean, because even like the pimps on the street corner have that braggadocio thing, and not even that, but like, I mean, I think it's more of like the American way, bro, of like swagger. Like
swag is American.
Yeah, I think it's an American thing. You say an African American thing, but like, I mean I don't think before, like, capitalism and like this economy, like, I mean, how it worked. The only way you would have had charisma would have been being a general, like, to get people behind you. Like, I mean, like, the greatest leaders before then that were charismatic were like military leaders. Until we got to the modern age, and then they became the entrepreneurs and the Rockefellers,
right?
And and then we started. Some of those rich people started being our politicians.
Our influence changed to monetary. People started to value and look up to who was paid the most.
Yeah, and then in power as well.
Now, who are some people that come to your mind off the top that you think are charismatic in like the film and sports and that type of entertainment type of world?
Denzel Washington, George Clooney are very charismatic on screen. As far as actresses, I find Cate Blanchett to be very charismatic on screen. She's one of my favorites. Shout out to Judy Greer, very charismatic on screen. Whew.
Yeah, nice family plug.
Yeah,
motherfucker. Butt-sucking bastard.
No, but like, I mean, there's certain, those are the ones you look for when you see their name on the headline. You're going to give the movie a shot. The Rock, is right now.
What I'm saying. He's one of those smooth talkers from the pro wrestling business.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Very charismatic person. Everybody loves The Rock.
I love The Rock, not the crack rock, but Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Yeah. He's very charismatic, and
you could see how that could be quoted though, like in a newspaper. And they could spin your contacts, and they could be like, fucking podcast host from Ohio says everybody loves The Rock.
Yeah, anymore. Yeah, it'd be some kind of like fodder for, the liberal conservative thing. But yeah.
All you gotta do is throw up the fucking Rockefeller Records diamond. The Hove diamond. Say it was for The Rock.
Yeah, charisma. I mean, Biggie and Jay-Z and like all, like, power. It takes, the people that really hold power, the true power, do have charisma. You kind of have to have that extra thing.
To be able to be eloquent and hold court.
And to hold,
draw attention.
Because it's not always like movements, it's ideas. And if you have someone, back in the day you needed an orator to be your pastor or your mayor or someone that was, you would need someone that could drive you and motivate you would be what you would get behind.
Right. And with that being said, I think it's very important to point out that attention and fame isn't really something to be idolized. Because there is a downside to that, and not all attention is good attention.
I have a question for you. Was Adolf Hitler charismatic?
I don't really know. I don't think I could say yeah, because I don't think I could say ever in my life, yeah, did you see that Hitler interview?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because I never have.
Yeah.
So, no. I would say no, on top of the fact that he's a douchebag.
Yeah. But, to hold that many people, obviously he'll people in concentration camps, but, like, to be able to sell the fucking plan, you have to,
Well, did they really sell it, or did they just take it?
Well, that's could be said for a lot of things, but you got...
when things are in executive order, it's not like people really.
You got a point though, because I wouldn't call George W. Bush charismatic, and he did in a sense,
led all types of people to their own death.
Yeah.
So I guess it just really depends on
I couldn't
your
say
personal perspective,
But like I wanted to ask that question because it occurred to me, and like he was the Time Man of the Year in like 1938 or whatever year it was. But the Time Man of the Year, that's the point, is it wasn't the person, which would be person of the year. The person of the year for Time is not like who they want. It's who is driving the news. Who is the person of the year?
Whether good or bad.
Yes.
And Hitler was bad.
They totally agree. They weren't bigging him up, but they were saying this is the person of the year that's driving stuff, because that was before he had gotten to where he was at, and they were basically calling it out, warning this, man is the driving force of the world politics. And look what he did. He forced us on to World War II.
Well, you can't be out here with that Charlie Chaplin ass fucking mustache and shit anymore.
Yeah, well,
Fried, bro.
no one rocks it anymore because the cocksucker had it.
That's how iconic of a piece of shit he was.
Yeah.
To where a certain style of mustache forever will go down. You'll be a piece of shit. So don't ever grow out the Hitler style mustache. Otherwise, you'll probably fucking deal with some bullshit in your life.
Yeah, every one of his living relatives after that vowed to never have children again, to never propagate the line.
So the name is cursed.
They said, no, we're not going to keep this name going after, he destroyed it. We're going to, and they all agreed and didn't have kids.
It would suck to be anybody in history with first name Adolf and do anything positive. Because there's a cloud over your name, motherfucker.
Dude, when I was out in, living in the Quad Cities, there was a restaurant called Adolf's Mexican Restaurant. No joke. And apparently it was a Mexican dude. I never went because it threw me off. I was like, how's Adolf supposed to... They spelled it with with a PH instead of the F. But it was like, how is Adolf supposed to have some banging ass Mexican restaurant? Like, I couldn't,
Do you think deep down, because of your Jewish faith, you just couldn't go?
Nah.
What if someone told you old Dolph's down the street's got the most banging tacos in the city? Could you overlook your own beliefs?
Well, it would depend. I mean, was he a Nazi sympathizer or not? Because, if he wasn't, then I could, because people can be from Germany or be like, people can essentially, be from there and not be a part of Nazi.
Right, I'm
sure
that.
It's their grandparents,
Fucking millions of, hundreds of thousands of great people that live in Germany.
Yeah. There's there's plenty of fairly decent people that have learned from the country's history. It's just like ours. Some people have learned from our country's history and some haven't. But they have some very strict, like, neo-Nazi right-wing policies. You're not allowed to, like, publicly display Nazi regalia, symbol, anything that's, like, you can go to jail just for wearing that. They don't have the free speech right of wearing Nazi shit there because of what the Nazis did there. Like, in America, you can get away with that because of First Amendment shit, even though they should get fucking destroyed by fucking people whose grandparents fucking died or fought in World War II.
Well, I know all types of people that won't play around about the Nazi flag bullshit. So if you're out here and you live in America and you're the type of motherfucker that's wearing swastikas and shit, I feel bad for you.
Yeah, and I never understood, like, the Confederate flag stuff, too. It's like which part of it are you proud of, the slavery or the treason, I mean, they lost they were rebels, they were traitors against the United States.
Yeah, the bottom line is hating is broke people shit.
I mean, I
so,
get it.
Like, if you get, from any standpoint, any type of hatred whatsoever towards anything, really, is fucking played out.
But I thought about it, though. So, like, when it comes to the Confederate shit, though, and why they're, like, still hanging on, it's like, so, it was their grandpa's grandpa that, like, fought in that war. And so, they're getting these stories from their grandpa, and who got it from the ones that were there fighting. And, it was so glorious to hear grandpa's story. You know what I'm saying? And then their grandpa was retelling about his grandpa, and there's all this pride that should be put on the shelf, with it. That was, it's one thing to have had some pride for your grandfather to have fought in a war.
Right.
Like, physically see the look in his eyes and have him tell you a story. It's another to have your grandpa's grandpa, a story about your grandpa's grandpa. And to, like, swell up the pride about it.
Yeah, much more far removed from your personal life.
You can hear that story from your grandpa, but you don't have to swell up with pride. You can take it for what it is and realize, that was a time and a place in America that your family had been in. And understand that you're not down with that, but it's still a part of, you have to acknowledge history.
Right. Swanglin Show listeners, that's another gem that you may have picked up today from the Swanglin Show, is to look around, learn from the mistakes of others.
Jesus. Yeah.
And that's some real shit that you can apply to your life that you just got right here via the not statistically number one podcast in the world, but because we think it's that fucking dope, that's what it is. Stamping it.
Yeah. We swangle harder than any other podcast show ever will.
And now, swangle is a hybrid word of swanging and dangling. So, that's technically two verbs.
Yep.
So when you put them back to back, what's that, Kyle?
It's just swangling. It's a way of life. It's kind of like swagger, in a sense, and charisma.
When I hear the word swangling, it just makes me think of Someone's swinging a baseball bat. That's just, he swangled it.
Swangled it.
Dipped down, swangled it for the grand slam. Knocked everybody in off the bases. I love baseball. I played baseball my whole life. It's opening day popping off. Major League Baseball is back in business. What do you got to say about that?
I'm excited for Dodgers baseball. Go Blue.
You're a Dodgers fan?
Yes, it's one of the few teams that are not in Ohio that I do root for. But
where does that connection come from?
I went to film school, and baseball season was starting up, and I hadn't watched in a long time. And I was like, I'm going to pick a new team. I was going to pick an Ohio team, but I thought I better have at least one team out in LA I root for if I'm going to go to film. If I was in film school, I was going to go out to LA. And so I picked Dodgers that year, and they did okay, but they didn't make the playoffs. But I was like, you know what, I'm going to stick with them. And it's been like 13 or so years now.
And they just so ironically have the same colors as your high school colors.
Yeah, for sure. They have red too, but actually Cary High School used to have a little bit of red in their coloration, and then they kicked it out in like the 70s or 80s.
Oh, yeah. Now, me personally, in baseball, I'm rocking with Cincinnati Reds. Shout out to the lineage and the championship history of the Cincinnati Reds. I'm hoping that they
Big Red Machine.
Take it all the way to the motherfucking house. So, there's been some big free agent moves in baseball. There's been some things shook up. But there's a lot of teams that, year to year are players that are going to stand the chance of playing postseason baseball.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about that, you talk about the pretty much the steamroll of teams like the New York Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, even teams like the Dodgers are always held in high regard because of that large media presence in LA. You have teams such as Houston Astros, who have a wonderful
they're
baseball
banging
team
right now. Yeah.
You have teams like the Cleveland Indians, who have been putting together nice teams.
I would
Chicago
like
Cubs,
to
nice
see
teams.
them be the AL. Like, I'd love to see their Indians in there and get another, shot at it as far as the AL. But obviously I'd like to see the Dodgers and the Indians is who I'd like to see in the World Series this year.
What we're going to do, the Swanglin Show, we're all about straight up hitting them with that bold-ass prediction.
Yeah.
The smooth prediction, if you will. Who you got in the World Series?
That's going to be it right there.
You say Cleveland Indians versus the LA Dodgers.
Yep.
That is the prediction you got out of the Fickle Freckle Boy Newkleus for this year's Major League Baseball World Series. Who wins it?
Dodgers.
The Dodgers.
In 7.
In 7. It seems like the big series, usually should go down to 7. That's what I want to see in the World Series. I want to see 7 games. I want to see that one game come down to lay it on the line. Whoever loses is going home. Let's see who the real champion is. Now, I think the World Series is going to be something different than that. I believe that coming out of the American League, you're going to see a new team emerge and take it and go all the way. And I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say that the Minnesota Twins
Nice.
are going to play in the World Series.
They've been drafting and been, not doing much. So, they are an improved team from last year. I remember they were playing better. So,
And they played tough last year. And
yes,
I feel
yes.
like down the stretch, that young core of players that they have there could really emerge into a championship caliber team. And I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. And I'm saying, boom, this year's World Series champion.
Wonder how much Prince they would play throughout the when it gets close and whatnot.
Who's your favorite baseball player of all time?
Ooh, it's probably Deion. Well, but that would be just because I like Deion Sanders. But my favorite baseball player would be Ricky Henderson.
Ricky Danglin Henderson, the all-time steals leader.
Yeah, I always like Ken Griffey Jr. though too, because especially in retrospect, because he was like the best player of that era, and he wasn't even on steroids. He was just naturally the best baseball player of that era.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to even argue that. I would have to say that Ken Griffey Jr. sits very high in my list of my favorite baseball players. I was always a really big fan of Barry Larkin.
Yeah, totally. Barry Larkin was a great player.
Cal Ripken Jr.
Yes. I really like John Smoltz. I thought he was
Great
amazing.
pitcher.
And
even
Maddox,
when he transitioned
Mark Maddox,
into,
I thought Mark Maddox was a phenomenal pitcher too. Man. Randy Johnson, Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan was my favorite pitcher probably all the time.
Nolan Ryan.
At the end of his
my
career.
nephew Nolan.
Yeah, he was phenomenal in his heyday. He actually was a very great pitcher.
So you think the Indians are going to have what it takes to get all the way there? And do you think it will result in Lindor leaving Cleveland at the end of his contract period?
I think that the Indians will be denied this year, but I think that they're going to win next year. So I actually think that they'll be motivated to probably keep him and spend the money. But I don't know what their money situation is off the top of my head, so who the hell knows? But I think that the Indians are.
They got a history for not breaking the bank, man.
Well, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they actually won it all this year.
Do you remember those teams?
I want to put it that way. I would not be surprised if it all works out for them, and then they kind of clean house post championship, kind of.
Do you remember how stacked those teams were when we were kids? The Indians team.
Yeah, the Lofton and Albert Bell and who was the catcher on the Alomar brothers?
Yeah.
And Roberto, dude. Sandy Alomar was Omar Vizquel. Yeah, those teams were phenomenal,
man.
Yeah, those were some bad teams because I remember not being a fan of the Indians, but they were from Ohio, so we got to watch a lot of the games in the playoffs. We would, and they were very good all the way through that batting lineup. And Kenny Lofton would come out opening up for them and get on first, and then he's starting to everyone was scared of him stealing, and they're they were a bad team.
I think that they have a history though of having a great scouting program because there's a lot of players that have had lengthy and great productive careers that started or played for the Cleveland Indians during the young part of their career. Yeah,
they do have a good eye for talent, and they have it's like with the Browns too. How many great talents have came there and left? It's coaching, with Belichick and Schottenheimer and all sorts of stuff, and then with the Indians, it's the same deal. They are just giving away talent when they should be keeping it.
Hopefully, going forward, maybe they'll learn their lesson from that and give Lindor the big money to stay in Cleveland and continue to build a nucleus around him to win a championship because I feel like the city deserves it. And people that's down with the Indians, that's a rabid fan base. You know what you see. We live around here, so we see it. And I'm not a Browns fan, and I'm not really a huge Cavs fan, but I was watched them very faithfully during the era when they had LeBron James because he's fucking dynamic.
Yeah.
So to see that LeBron deliver a championship to Cleveland was dope. But I feel like for it to really be a Cleveland championship, it's got to be the Indians or the Browns that win it. Because those teams have legit championship pedigree from the old days that need to be revived and come back to that level as franchises.
The Cavs are down right now. They're not going to be going for more championships anytime soon unless some kind of trade happens that I don't know about or that is to be announced. But it's definitely going to be the Browns or the Indians.
Well, the Browns look like on paper that they're going to be real fucking hard to beat. We wish them the best of luck in this upcoming season, and the Cleveland Indians as well, because one thing is for sure about the fucking Swanglin Show, Kyle, we love Ohio.
Yeah, well, and the Reds and the Bengals as well.
Yeah, well, the Bengals need more help than the Swanglin Show can provide.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But hopefully they'll come out in this year's NFL draft that's right around the corner and pick them up some young talent and start making the right decisions to go in the direction of potentially winning. It looks like they have a long way to go.
Yes. It's not looking good at this moment.
So, all right, yeah, man. Fucking Swanglin Show, episode 11. We got special guest interview on the end of this episode with the homie Rozz Dyliams. You know what I'm saying? Long time homie. Popping big time in the hip-hop game, music world. That's the homie. So keep your ears locked in on episode 11. Deuce 1. That's 1-1.
Yep. 1-1.
11.
Like a free throw.
Swanglin Show. Peep out that interview between myself and the good homie Rozz Dyliams. Now, we've been on the subject of talking about Major League Baseball, talking about sports. For some reason, I always have this connotation with baseball. Not to specifically the actual game of baseball, but to the movie A League of Our Own, where there was the Women's Baseball League, right?
Yeah.
Now, women sports is extremely competitive world, right?
Yeah.
To where a lot of female athletes have like a chip on their shoulder and they got a lot to prove because they feel as if they're undervalued, right?
Yeah.
So we're just going to take a moment to talk about the evolution of women in pro wrestling specifically, because they announced that the match between Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and the man, Becky Lynch, is now going to be the main event of WrestleMania 35.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's like about time in a sense, because it's really not about like women getting to have. I don't know. It's not a women's issue. It's about like numbers issue, and the fact that the women's is likely the biggest draw of it. The match of it is there's something to be said about that, and how they have promoted women's wrestling through, and it made it more of a feature and a forefront of WWE from what it's really been in the past.
It's crazy too, because like I've been watching wrestling my whole life, right?
Yes.
So a lot of like the memories and stuff that stuck with me the most of like the storylines and the programming aspect of it is stuff from, the time period of like 92 to like 2002. Some stuff earlier than that,
yeah.
But I didn't discover it until that time period when I was like actively looking for, things from the past, which I still do explore,
Yeah.
But now, if you look at the level of athleticism, the women right now are better than like athletes than some of the men were during some of the boom periods of sports entertainment.
Well, yeah, I could see what you're saying about that for sure. As far as like straight up, like Ronda Rousey is in better shape than Babe Ruth.
Oh, well, there's no doubt about that.
But it's to be said something about these women's work ethic in this modern era, and I think that some of them, and not just wrestling, but in all sports. But like, there's something about wrestling where they're wrestling. It could be match to match, men and women. You might see that in tennis or something, but like, I mean, it's a little different than I don't know, soccer or something like that. So,
well, this was even speaking of like outside of the realm of pro wrestling in the news recently. I saw some things about the United States of America's women's national soccer team demanding to be paid on an equal scale to the men's. And in my opinion, they should.
Actually, the U.S. Soccer Association or whatever, the people that do that, they probably should have like thought about that a while ago and got that taken care of. But yeah, they should, because they're all in the same system representing the United States.
If they're good enough to rep the USA, they should get paid. Pay them women their money.
Whatever the allotment is that is given to this organization, because I know the men's and women's is like kind of ran by the same people, like soccer in general, and then they're broke up. So like whatever the budget is, like it needs to be given in a way that it's even, because that's the way it is. They're all representing the country both the same.
And set the standard, and going forward change the game of how people are being compensated.
Yeah. Well, so the U.S. national team though is like stipend. It's like kind of amateur. It's supposed to be amateur. It's not really professional. You can't have endorsements, but regardless of that point, they should be getting equal to what the men's team is getting for this equal thing, you know.
Absolutely.
So the fact that, you know, regardless of what the payment is and this and that, yeah, like they should totally be equal to the men. In this instance, now the only thing I could ever see, like an instance where a man should get more than a woman, it would be an individual basis. Like this person can physically do the job better than the other.
Now,
but like Ronda Rousey should get more than what fucking, you know, some chump gets just because he's a man. He shouldn't get more than her.
Yeah, I feel like in that scenario, though, with it being the first time women will be on that large of a platform in pro wrestling history, I feel like that is a big enough payday for the 3 women that are involved in that match that is going to kind of change the standard and the ceiling, if you will, for some of the other talent that's on their roster to say, holy shit, maybe I can get a check like that. Because previous to this, women didn't get that kind of check.
Never. No, not in wrestling. You would have been the only women that got in the ring before had like a round sign, you know, like round 1, round 2, or won the arm of one of the wrestlers back in the day. There wasn't women's matches when we were real little.
Well, yeah, I mean there was
here and there.
There was women's championship, but it was never featured. Now there was a boom period in pro wrestling, you know, in the late '90s and early 2000s where there was some great talent. I think that there's some unsung heroes as well that kind of during the down years kind of helped kick things into gear to lay the ground for some of this to happen. People like Gail Kim, people like that were really like phenomenal female pro wrestling athletes back in the day.
Yeah.
And that probably still are to this day. Now, I would say in an instance though where although I do believe in like the pay equality.
Yeah.
Now, what about say an NBA franchise payroll directly reflected against the WNBA when you know that the WNBA franchises, although they are attached to NBA franchises, they don't have the same amount of revenue.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, is it okay for them to be paid less because they're drawing less?
Well, it's kind of 2 different leagues, but like I get what they're saying, and maybe they should have the same minimum amount a player can make. But like professional sports are the teams pay based off of your physical ability to rush for yards, or you know put points on the board, or you know throw these strikeouts and whatever.
Right, but say in perspective, you know, from a business standpoint, a team can't sign a player to a $100 million contract if the whole team only generates $25 million.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true too. So yeah, like there's something to be taken into that. Like if they want to say, well, then the NBA makes this amount, they'll figure it out. Then have that stand, and then we'll see where it lays. It would be probably decided by a judge at that point.
And hopefully it lays out into some type of scenario that trickles into the collegiate system to start getting some true compensation for the physical risks of college athletes, student athletes.
Athletic directors actually now are changing, and they are actually actively working to try to get players paid. I think a lot of them have seen the signs. And I've seen a lot of things go through where they're actually working towards, and it has a lot to do with the fact that sports gambling is being legalized all over the country by state, and it's making it problematic for people to throw games, and then that causes fines for these athletic directors and things in their universities. So they want to start getting these players like compensated in a way that they're not going to be out there trying to take bribes. Well, it's like a serious thing now. They're trying to get away from.
Sports betting has always existed on that level, though.
But not state to state. Like, how didn't have sports gambling where you could
see, here's the thing. Just because it's legalized, it doesn't mean that it wasn't going on. Because motherfuckers been running tickets for a long time that would exist, no matter how illegal it is. Because it's not actually what people bet on; it's that fact that they're betting. That's where the obsession stems. It ain't the biggest football fans in the world ain't betting on football. It's motherfuckers that want to bet on anything that's betting on football.
Well, now that it's changed though, like online and like the way that these like sports places are built, even at the casinos, it's like they're betting on like what the pass is gonna, what this place, what's gonna happen on this play, what's gonna happen, what the score is gonna be at the end of the quarter. They're betting in between mid games,
odds and shit.
Yeah, there's all sorts of gambling now, and it's generating. Like the industry itself has changed with the fact that we have online, and now that it's being legalized in each state, and like it's just sports gambling. It's grown in a sense, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. But it's scaring the crap out of athletic directors. I just seen a thing on 60 Minutes about this. Y'all should check it out. It's really cool. But this one guy, he was from. He's the AD at Marshall.
University, West Virginia.
Yeah. And West Virginia has recently legalized gambling. But he was once the AD at UNLV, which was a state that always had sports gambling there. And he realized early on, that sports betting was a very serious thing there. Because of watching games and seeing, what happens if he didn't make the spread.
The spread.
Cover the spread. Yeah. Where it was noticeable that a player may have taken dives and stuff. And actually, the University of Toledo got caught. There were some players a few years back.
Well, I have mixed feelings about gambling. I think it's all right every once in a while if you can afford it to throw a few bucks out there to try and make some money. That's cool. But from an addiction standpoint, I don't really latch on to it. I've always had pretty good willpower in that component of my body, to where I'm not out here risking it like that all crazy. I'm kind of conservative.
Yeah.
Financially, so it's to me, I think that the players should be getting paid based upon the physical aspects of some of the sports that they're playing, because it's say you got somebody that's going out there and playing Division I level football. Not everyone that plays Division I level football is meant to be a professional athlete. That's obvious. Otherwise,
no, the game is slower than the NFL for sure.
Without question. It's less physical. So you think about the wear and tear that happens to a lot of these players that could over time affect their ability to present a livelihood for their family.
Yeah.
So
pick
that
up their
type
kids
of a
someday.
gamble, to come there and perform and be a part of athletic department that is generating millions of dollars for collegiate programs and for colleges all across the country, especially at the Division I level. They gotta let you hold something.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, there's actually a athletic directors are challenging, and I seen an article about this before I'd seen the 60 Minutes thing, but the original bylaw or whatever that sets the precedent for why they argue these and why they can't get paid, the ADs want to question it now. They're going down to the fundamental root of the law and want to question it now and say that it's outdated. They're fucking done with it. They are done, and because they got to figure something out. It's not because they want to. It's because they have to. Trust me. Because they've been milking it for waiting for how long. Big sports has came since the Super Bowl happened in the late '60s, and there's been some World Series in the after the war and stuff. We've always had sports in our culture, but man, it's really money wise, it is everything. And there's certain campuses like Ohio State, and Texas, and
Oklahoma,
Notre Dame,
huge schools.
Yeah, that run shit. Alabama, LSU,
USC, University of Georgia, University of Miami. There's tons of schools that attract a lot of potential next level professional athletes that are always under this type of scrutiny and microscope because they have the best players coming here.
They're
and
factories
they have them coming and they're losing these what they consider blue chip athletes is what brings it to their concern. But are they should be worried from the standpoint of their commitment to that person's academic future, as opposed to the bottom line of how much money they lose from their athletic program by a star leaving early to go to the league.
Well, it's more not to get them paid in that way. It's more to just keep them in a sense compliant, so that these kids aren't out here to take care of them. So that at least first off, I think there should be no restriction. I think there should be these one and done rules with any of the professional things. If you want to go pro, you should be able to try. I think there's a reason why in the NFL why you go to college first, because of this. You can't go I think there's only been one player I know of that's ever went from high school to pro, and they didn't start off the best. That took them a while to get up to speed, and even then, I don't even know if they made the Hall of Fame. But I can't recall who it was. I just recall hearing like one story that ever happened in my life. You need time to progress. So I understand like why, in a sense, colleges are insistent, but it shouldn't be mandatory. Like if someone goes pro and they don't get drafted, then like
right, they got the dice, go back to school.
Well, it depends if they hired an agent or not. Now, if they hired an agent, they should be able to go play in Europe or something for a year, and then let's try the draft next year or something.
Right.
Figure it out. Go play. They would have to be able to. You got to figure something else out, and then you got to play probably some pro ball elsewhere in a developmental kind of league. Because I mean, the thing with the NBA draft, there's only 2 rounds. So people only really have 2 picks. You have a 15-man roster, and you have like 12 you carry with you, I think, for games. And so there's only so many slots as people are keeping players. You're trying to, so yeah, it is what it is.
Now, on the Swanglin Show, previous episodes, you've piped in and dropped different concepts and different stories to get our listeners up to speed and a little hip to what's going on in the political world. Now, there's been some updates and stuff going on in this Trump collusion investigation. I know you had wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, since we had talked about like the Mueller investigation, special counsel's investigation, I wanted to clarify on the finality and the sense of it. Robert Mueller and his team submitted their report to Attorney General William Barr, and he reviewed it and submitted a 4-page summary of it to the American people, to White House, and to Congress, basically saying that the summation was Mueller found not enough evidence for to bring about collusion charges, and he was leaving it up to the DOJ as far as obstruction. And he had presented parts for and against, and Attorney General William Barr decided that there wasn't sufficient evidence for an obstruction charge, so that's where it lays now. And no one has seen the full report except for like maybe less than 50 people in the government, as far as I know, and it's something that should be made public, and like precedent says it should be made public in some way, shape, or form. William Barr is now, after some backlash, is now saying he's going to try to release something redacted by mid-April. He had, I guess it's over 300 pages. That's all we know. We don't know an exact number, but it's at least over 300, and I believe Congress had previously asked for it in its entirety and the evidence that goes with it by April 2nd. And obviously he's saying he won't even probably get the report redacted by then, because that's even the Congress. So there's going to be some backlash. I'm pretty sure they're going to want it now. Like, they're going to ask for it sooner than that.
Well, hopefully, everything gets turned over and we get to the bottom of what's really going on there. Because, there's a deep history of corruption in politics, and for the most part, that's like a lot of average people in the United States and all over the world. That's like one of the immediate connotations that they have to politics in general, that the motherfuckers are grimy.
Well, this is something I want to bring up about this, is that William Barr was nominated particularly because in the middle of like all of this investigation, he wrote on his own accord a op-ed, I believe this is the USA Today, saying that it is illegal for a president to commit obstruction of justice, since he's like basically the top official in the country. And so, of course, the logic is of course this man is not going to find sufficient evidence of a crime he doesn't believe a president can commit. That's part of the reason why people believe that Trump would hire him. I mean, why wouldn't? I mean, that's kind of the situation. He's being investigated for obstruction. This guy has publicly came out and said this, basically put it out there like, hey, this is how I feel about it. And William Barr, by the way, was a former attorney general in the Bush administration, I believe, the first Bush administration.
Now, so basically, as this rolls out,
first president.
if nothing happens out of this, it's like pretty much the president would be pretty much telling everybody to accept the findings of an agency that he's pretty much criticized for the entire term of his presidency.
Yeah, he said that they had this whole witch hunt and they were going to fabricate evidence, and then Mueller did not exonerate Trump. He said that although he didn't find evidence enough to bring about charges of a crime, he does not exonerate him. This report does not exonerate him. So, Trump is going around lying and saying it's a complete total exoneration. That's a direct quote from him. And it's not.
No, that's not what that is.
No, they said it does. Actually, the report says it didn't exonerate him. So the point is since let's see the whole report. Then the Congress Intelligence Committee went to see it, and the previous precedent with these special counsel type reports on presidents have led that they would naturally just give this over. I guess with Bill Clinton and the Ken Starr report, that there was like 18 boxes of evidence. And so what they had done was made 18 boxes for the Democrats and 18 boxes for the Republican leadership and their leadership, and then gave them each their own report that was redacted with whatever they needed and stuff that they could
highlighted for their own whatever they're interested in.
Yeah, and then no, it was exactly the same. But like the only thing that when redacted means is it's blacked out for national security purposes.
Okay.
For public and like whatever. But then like Congress Intelligence Committee also gets the opportunity because of their clearance to see stuff that other people don't see, and that's a whole other can of worms. Is Adam Schiff is currently the head of the House Intelligence Committee, and he there's been calls for him to resign because Trump has been exonerated and he's said things publicly about Trump and how dare him, but he's seen things. He has said that he has seen evidence of collusion with Russia.
Well, I think that they shouldn't even have the opportunity to have private documents. I feel like if these are all people that are elected official.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like all of, the voters gave the motherfuckers their jobs, their money, gave them everything.
Well, we paid for the Mueller report. We paid for the special counsel with our special. We already paid for the Mueller report with our tax dollars.
Why the fuck is it private to us when we funded it?
Well, the only thing that I get with redaction is for national security purposes, and I don't mean that in like a very broad sense. I mean that in a very specific sense, like. Maybe in the process of this, Mueller mentions a witness that is still cooperating with the Southern District or something, and he has information of it. They found this information through like maybe you handle that differently.
Well, fuck them.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to it, I feel like even if there is direct evidence of collusion and all this other crazy shit, of somebody swinging an election or this or that, I feel like it's nothing that hasn't been done before, and I feel like what is really the repercussion? I mean, what do they stand to benefit if they do find a motherfucker guilty? Because people in positions of power, they got money. Especially Donald Trump is far more financially off than any president ever was coming into their presidency.
Yeah.
So who's to say that he can't shake any type of bullshit? He can pay for it. And is this something that is unforgivable?
Well, I don't think Donald Trump has made any of his own money. I think he's basically pissed away all of his dad's money. Like, I don't think he's as smart of a person as whatever. I don't think this isn't for me. Like, I'm a Democrat registered, and for me it was never about Donald Trump. This is about Vladimir Putin and what Vladimir Putin has done to America. And people can say yes. America has impacted elections and this and that. But that's all good and well. But I am an American, and I do care of foreign nations interacting in my election. And I know that other nations try and this and that, but Russia was very successful in what they did. And so in discord amongst us, it was a two-pronged attack. And like Mueller in this report acknowledges that Russia did interfere, which all of our intelligence agencies have concluded Russia interfered in our elections by hacking into systems. They have not been able to prove, or at least they haven't now noted publicly, that they changed votes. But what they did was they jammed up. I believe this has been concluded, if I remember correctly, but it just makes sense in of itself from the reports that I'd seen that night of in these crucial areas like in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. Those were the three states that settled this whole last election, if you watch. In particular counties, in them were the ones that really set it off and were the ones that mattered. And in it, they had jammed up, it made the lines longer to vote and less likely for people to want to sit in those lines to vote until, whatever. And so, and these were in areas where Trump was leading and maybe could lose,
Right.
And so it was key areas and stuff where it mattered. And there was reports of it happening all over the country all throughout the night. I think and also in other, like 2018 too, we had the same issues, but in 2016 it was really, really bad. And I don't want to say it swung for Trump because Trump won in by electoral votes, and he actually lost the popular vote by 3 million. So but it was those 3 states were the states that he needed to make that happen, and all 3 of those states had their voting systems hacked into. That's not even debatable. So that's just the way it is.
Well, we talked on Swanglin X, the previous episode 10, about systemic thought structure and stuff like that when it comes to racism and hate, terror attacks and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at systemic thought in relation to people that acted out like a group, you know what I mean?
Sure.
As a theory, right? People would immediately think of large-scale hate groups and things like that. But technically, wouldn't under that same banner sit sectors of organized religion, government, police, things like that?
Intelligence agencies, anything.
So technically, I feel like this is where individuality is the key component, because it's do you follow the structure and thought process of other people? Is it that fucking important? And how do these things exist and have so much power and influence that they control all of us? They control all of us. How has this become?
What, existence?
No, structure.
The world order that we know as
police and the government and
all right. So
why is it such a thing to have group of support, strength in numbers?
Because it just was something we figured out as people over time, trying to survive
as a
on
war tactic, or
as tribal units, and that's how it all started. And then enough of us got together, and then what really set us off in making cities was the fact that we started to learn how to grow crops and be agrarian instead of just hunting and gathering. Once we started to have a spot where we would store grain and have a field, and people would stay there by where all the food is. And then you would need this because of this, and then
right.
Then
you need a full water supply because all these people are here.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden that leads to something else, and then you start having communities, and then we need some structure this way, and we all need this, and we need someone to patrol, and eventually that's how police came into kind of some sort of policing.
Right, and then you have the system of monetary currency, and it goes really deep as far as if you relate that, just the idea of anything systemic. There's negative things, there's positive things, but it's it makes you wonder, is that in general a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I always wonder sometimes, if we had to, this moment come up with a way to get from here to there, as far as a car or something, to get places,
right?
Without
a form of transportation,
with today's resources and start from scratch, as opposed to going with the preface of a car, and using gas and this and that and doing it from complete scratch. Will we make a car again? I don't know. Would we do it? Will we make the car the same way? Will we have it? Will we be flying? How would we do it? Even if we flew, would it be just a few feet off the ground and we propel? I don't know what we would do, but what we're doing, there's scientists that are way smarter than me that are figuring out random shit like that in labs all over this country, though, and all over the world.
And that's interesting.
And I trust their science over my freaking limited brain, because I've learned something called reading, and you find something that people way smarter than you figured out, and then you read it, and it saves you all the time of doing all the experiments yourself.
Which brings me to a very interesting point, because you're talking about reading. This is something that I want to implement going forward on the Swanglin Show. We're going to throw out challenges to our active and engaging listener base of some of the dopest motherfuckers in the world that enjoy the Swanglin Show, right? Because This ain't for basic people. This ain't for average people. This is the podcast for the people that are really fucking holding it down, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to start issuing on every episode a challenge, right, to our listener base and give you a reason to come back and chop it up with us about what you maybe have learned or just share your own personal experience with what's going on. So this is going to be the first issued challenge of the Swanglin Show. Swanglin, what do we got to call this? Like, there has to be some type of sweet catchphrase around the Swanglin fucking challenge, right?
There's a Swanglin challenge for now. We'll figure it out.
You're talking about reading. I think reading is very fucking important. So if you're a listener of the Swanglin Show, we challenge you to, in this time period between you here at episode 11 of the Swanglin Show, pick up a new book. Let us know what it is that you read and whether or not you enjoyed it, who the author is.
I'll go you one further now. Read something different than you normally read. And I'm not even talking, it could, like, if you read books, read news. And if you read news, read a book. And if you read magazines, read something in a different format than you normally do. If you read it on your phone, read something in a different way. Or read something normally than you wouldn't do. Like, do something out of your normal frame and to help you think differently.
Right. It's a wonderful activity. It will grow your vocabulary, make your imagination stronger. It might help you in your everyday life to, if you are an avid reader, to switch it up. And if you're not a reader at all, you learn how to read. Or if you just are lazy and don't really get into reading and as preference, you can say, you want to know what? Fucking Josh and Newkleus told me on the Swanglin Show to pick up a book. I'm going to try this out.
Well, books on tape are still count as reading the book. I don't think any less of people if you do the book on tape. I do them I shouldn't say I do them. I've done them when I've been driving before, and I have no problem with that. Rewind it, here and there to make sure what I missed and this and that. But I totally have no problem with that. And if you couldn't read your book on tape,
right? But make an effort to learn how to read.
What's most important when you do that is the process and knowledge that the author's trying to give you and retain. That information doesn't matter how you retained it or how you got it. The fact that you retained it. So, like, books on tape are totally cool with me. There's people that are dyslexic that have trouble time reading it on the page, but they could totally take that knowledge and apply it and be successful in some way, shape, or form. The lessons that are within those,
right. Reach
words.
out to us at the Swanglin Show. Let us know what you picked up. Now, on the last episode as well, we talked about some major terror attacks and stuff going on in the world. And it just so happens that it's like nonstop that you see some negative shit being reported or happening in the world. So there was a major cyclone.
Yes.
I know you wanted to chop it up about this as well.
All right, I'm going to read off the Wikipedia main paragraph about this just to kind of give you an idea what just happened here. It was called Cyclone Idai, and it was intense tropical cyclone Idai is regarded as one of the worst tropical cyclones on record to affect Africa and the southern hemisphere as a whole. The long-lived storm caused catastrophic damage in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Malawi, leaving more than 800 people dead and hundreds more are missing. In the southern hemisphere, it currently ranks as the second deadliest tropical cyclone on record, having a death toll comparable to that of the 1892 Mauritius cyclone, the 1903 French Polynesia cyclone, the 1927 Madagascar cyclone, and Cyclone Leon Aline in 2000. So, I mean, it's up there with, the worst ones in recordable history. It's as bad as it gets, and it's cost at least 815 dead, possibly 1,000 total or more, and over $1 billion in damage. Costliest tropical cyclone in the Southwest Indian Ocean. And the areas really affected are Mozambique, Malawi, Madagascar, and Zimbabwe. It's caused a lot of havoc, and the main thing that I want to impress upon people is that, if you're donating to causes now, is to donate to these people. One of the best ways to do that, I believe, is to go to the International Rescue Committee, and people talk about I want to send soap bars and I want to send clothes and I want to send this. Well, a big problem with all right, so rescue.org is the International Rescue Committee's website, and they're sending money there. But like when you send your goods and your bars of soap and this and blah blah blah, they have to transport that there. It's a lot easier for them to like get the cash and then transfer that to somewhere that's like way closer, instead of gathering all these bars of soap, but to like purchase a mass amount of bars of soap and you just get it there.
Right, you gotta think about the fundamental
like logistically,
aspect of it.
Like it's like, or even if it's like not even like they're purchasing them, they've already had them stocked and organized in like a region elsewhere closer than where yours is at in Timbuktu, Illinois, or wherever you're at. You know what you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, and we want to throw our sympathies from the Swanglin Show out to the people that are affected
by this
cyclone, because I feel like any type of natural disaster or anything that happens where there's water involved, there's lasting damage. Like, you know, people lose their homes, people lose their lives, lose their loved ones, all types of crazy shit goes involved with stuff like that. And it's not an easy thing for people to deal with mentally or economically or physically. People probably lost their jobs, lost their homes, all this shit. So I think it's a good look, you know, if anyone is looking to donate, to go ahead and look up what do you call it? The International Rescue Committee at rescue.org.
Yeah, that's a good place to go if you want to donate the causes and stuff. But I also want to point out that we in America right now we do have like farmers and people underwater in Nebraska and Iowa right now with some flooding going on too. So like if you want to do something with a Cause More Home, you would definitely go there, and that would probably be with your local Red Cross and stuff like that. Now, there's nothing wrong with donating to your local organizations for stuff like that, especially for like international, like a Red Cross, like, but don't just think that your goods are just going to get to some natural disaster, even if it's in like a different part of the United States, like in time for that. They're trying to get stuff to them as quick as they can. So what they already have amassed, you know, like, you know, where your money is kind of what's important at that time. It makes more sense. And I've like read up on this with like charities and stuff, like what's the best to do during natural disasters in order to get people their goods in time. And it's like, it is to give that $10 donation instead of the bar of soap or whatever.
Well, ultimately everything, as long as it's done for the right reason, is the right thing to do. But look into making both, whether it be goods or financial or whatever it is that you can do. Obviously, you know, these people in these areas need help. So on this Swanglin Show, we're going to push it out there to the people that be philanthropic and you know, don't think that you don't have it to give, because you got something to give. Let's just be real.
Well, like the goods that they do, like when you're given that, it's not going to those people. It's going to replenish the stuff that is going to be given to them essentially. And so like that's kind of where the money comes into play, as far as if you want to like immediate help to them. But it's fine to give this stuff like that, but that stuff's more going to be replacing what's being given to them as far as actually getting to them. Unless it drags on for like a really long time, some kind of situation, then maybe that would go there. But it's just something to think about as far as when you're donating.
Yeah,
and make sure that the causes are like, you know, look into them, make sure that they spend their money appropriately, this and that. But the International Rescue Committee has been around for a long time, and that's kind of what they do. And I've noticed that they've been aware of like current humanitarian crisis in the nation that even people aren't even really talking about, and they're, you know, they're the ones that are being put in charge by the government of getting stuff to them and whatnot.
Yeah, that's definitely something that as people and as citizens of the United States we should be supportive of, because without our backing and without our interest in programs like that, you see them disappear.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this International Rescue Committee gets like France, like, I mean, there's a lot of people that help with it, but like, you know, as far as like help around the world with this Mozambique and stuff, and Malawi and Madagascar and the other one, my apologies at the time, but it's more like I hope that America is we have boots on the ground in Africa. I hope that we're doing what we can over there to secure these nations, because obviously there's going to be like turmoil afterwards, and a lot of people that need rescued, like from like random spots. Like I've seen like there are people that are like getting helicoptered. They're like in like groups of like they're stuck out in like flooded like rooftops and this and that, and they're giving them goods and like taking anyone that's injured or not. But other than that, they can't take them right now because they're dealing with so much.
Right.
So they're just like leaving them with stuff. We might come back. We might get back to you tomorrow, and like it's nuts over there right now in Africa, and these people do need help. You know, if we're going to think about the world in a global situation, these people are hurting. And one thing that a lot of them don't have that the American farmer is fortunate enough to have is like crop insurance and stuff like that. A lot of them don't have those programs in their government. You talk about America doing a lot, you know, for people. And in our farm bill, we think ahead about our farms and that, you know, luckily. And our Congress has passed things to help protect crop insurance and things like that so that we don't end up having these people that provide all of our food and the basics, you know, puts food on our table,
and
going out of business, and we won't have those resources.
We got to take care of our fellow human and animal and earth, and we got to take care of all that shit. Is very important on the Swanglin Show that we put that out there to the people so they know that it's not, you know, your existence isn't all about you. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we're going to transition the Swanglin Show 11 over to a conversation that I had the other night with one of our real fucking good homies from back in the day. Zimbabwe. Shout out to Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
But we're going to transition into this interview that I did with our dog, the young homie, Rozz Dyliams, a.k.a. Dylan Rozz. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in to Swanglin Show episode 11. Motherfucker, what's up now?
What's up, baby D?
I know you feel me. Y'all know what it is. It's the Swanglin Show. Got a very special guest on the line with me tonight. We're talking about Dr. Dylan. You know what I'm saying? Rozz Dyliams, Dylan Rozz, whatever you want to call him. What's up, my dude?
What's up? I had to reconnect to the 419 to get back. The only way that I like reconnect with my roots is when I have these periodical phone calls with you. I feel like
I'm the catalyst of your 419-ness, is what you're saying.
Yeah, of course. Why the fuck else would I have any? Yeah, no, it's very fair. And a lot of people don't, like, literally don't understand, like, how much, like, I've talked about Nixon and I've talked about Swanglin in so many songs. And, like, you can pick that up and, like, people from back home will pick that up, but, like, now there'll be a little bit more cohesion, you know?
Yeah.
Gives a little bit more, it'll give some context to it. And I was there from the whole inception.
Yeah. We're going to touch base on this throughout this interview. I
crazy.
feel like you should have been on like episode 1 of
this
this.
This is rare energy. Rare Seneca energy.
You should have been the initial guest on the Swanglin Show.
What number is this?
This is number 11, man.
11's good.
Swanglin 11.
Do something with that.
Doesn't
I'm super
Swanglin
stoked,
11
though,
sound like
to finally do this.
Doesn't it sound like a discount tennis shoe? Swanglin 11s?
Yo, you got, what are those? You got the Swanglin 11s? Swanglin 11 also sounds like one of those 8-hour truck stop pornos, like the DVDs that play for 8 hours.
Oh, God, yes. Swanglin 11.
So that's more, that's
also
my
sounds
thing.
like a fucking, sounds like the name of like some orbital fucking rocket ship as well.
Man, you hit that peach wax pen. You really did.
Yeah, real shit. I really
Where do you
did.
get those in?
So, I cannot talk about that on the phone right now on the Swanglin Show, but what we can talk about.
Oh, I can get them from the store down the street.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we're going to talk about, man. How is the West Coast treating you?
It's been treating me all right. It's quiet. It's dark as fuck. It's just gloomy. I live in Seattle now. I've lived in Seattle for a while since I moved straight out here from Ohio, like from Cleveland. It's been good though. It's I have my solitude, and I really appreciate that a lot. The weed is amazing. I don't even smoke weed anymore, bro. Like, I haven't smoked weed in like a year and a half, which is fucking weird.
No edible, no wax, nothing like that?
No, nothing.
Well, that's dope.
None of that. You know what's weird? It's like, I wish I still was, but my preferred method of inhalation is the backwood. And, Mac Dre said,
a little heavy. Yeah, that's a little heavy.
It ain't in the backwood. It ain't all that good. And, yeah, so that's the thing. It's a little heavy, and the tobacco tax is expensive as fuck in Washington. And so it's like $12 for a pack of woods. And,
what?
You'll get like 2 or 3 good ones out of every pack.
The rest are stale.
That shit adds up. But so the backwoods, I started hacking up the butter, just from too many woods, because those things are fucking heavy. And
yeah,
quite honestly, like, I just felt like like, for me at least, like, I can only get so high until I'm like, now I'm just like regretfully wasting my shit. And then I started getting heart shit was happening, and it was regardless of like whether I was smoking a sativa or an indica. I just started having like mad heart palpitation issues. So I don't know what the fuck that was, but I've been cooling it off the do.
Well, hopefully that's something that's bringing some value to your life, bro. I think it's dope that you have that level of discipline to just cut shit in and out.
I'm like chugging coffee through my fucking stomach lining now. It's like trading one vice for another vice.
Well, speaking
still got
of
that problem with candy, but speaking of,
what type of candy does Rozz Dyliams eat?
I like fine chocolate. I like dropping money on like I like that nice like $6 chocolate bar. You know what I mean?
Just a regular milk chocolate?
No, I don't do any animal products of any kind. So I do like the fine, like the hippy dippy, like the fair trade, organic, ethically sourced cocoa type of deal.
Only the most exclusive of Willy Wonka bars for Rozzy.
Bro, have you ever fucked with any of those, like the Wonka, the weird, like, candies? Because they have, like, the Wonka bar and all that shit. You can get the Cadbury. I think, is that Wonka? Cadbury?
Yeah, I think so.
They got some weird English ones that are, like, being slowly introduced to the American market, like English candies. I wonder how that, like, why that is.
I don't know.
But yeah, so I got a horrible.
But one thing I do know about is the biscuit. Shout out to the English people for the sweet biscuit with the apricot preserves and the chocolate on top of it. That's the fire.
Oh, those biscuits, biscuits, scones, anything like that.
Run it.
I just got a problem. And, see, that's the thing that I'm most addicted to. That is like my biggest downfall is bread. Like, bread will fuck you up.
Carbohydrate children, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's been good, though, overall. I do very much so enjoy it out here. I consider myself like a Washingtonian by way of Ohio.
You've been out there for a long time, man, and you've been busy.
Yeah, I've been staying busy.
You've been real busy.
The last shit I did, tour-wise, was did like 14 or 15 cities in Europe last April, and that was really wonderful. That was like a bucket list thing, and about to go out there again. I ate hella biscuits. I probably ate at least 2 biscuits in every city.
I respect it, man.
I got my own little biscuit out finally. I got a vinyl. Finally got my vinyl.
That's some rare ass shit. What vinyl you got?
Yeah. I'll send you one. It's the last record that I did called Epiphania, and it's kind of like my attempt at a more accessible pop record, I suppose. Like, I got a fair amount of kind of more like positive, uplifting sort of melodies with the trappier drums and slapped auto-tune all over that bitch. But it still kind of has like a dark, creepy, ominous feel. But it was, I guess, like my attempt at creating my ideal pop record for the winter.
There's a song.
We dropped that shit last September.
There's a song on that project called Evil Little Thing Called Love. Love that song.
Yeah. Thank you. That's like, that's like the banger from that one.
Speaking of albums, you got a bunch of projects out. Like, you've been dropping whole bodies of work since I've known you. It's been a long time. There's a lot of shit that's in your catalog that cats that are your active fans probably would geek out about if they even knew that it existed. You know what I mean? Of all the projects that you've put out, which one's your favorite?
So I'd say I have a couple different favorites, like depending on, because everything it kind of has its own signature sound. Because like when I put together a whole record, I kind of like think of it as like building a little world, like a self-contained thing of its own. So I appreciate the different records for different reasons. So like this last one, it's the most recent, and like as far as, I guess, maybe like what I consider like standardized songwriting type shit, I like this Epiphania record the best. As an overall project, front to back, like something that I completely own up to and take pride in through and through, I'd say that one is going to be Gale Force Beats, the record I dropped in 2015.
I feel like that was the first one where you like really started to expose your house music influence and showing some different sides of yourself from a production standpoint that a lot of your listeners probably didn't really know was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I dabbled with it in a couple things before that. I was like working up to dropping that one. You know what I mean? And I did that fucking song, the cover song from Freak Show, just for good measure. I did a cover of Bags.
Oh, shit, you did. I forgot about that. You have so much music that it's like, even though like I've been an active fan of yours outside of being your dude.
But you've also been, like, that's the thing that, like, everybody needs to realize is, like, you have been, like, I slept on the floor and shit in Columbus and worked on Mad Music, and, like you were there since, like, the beginning, before everything even. So you kind of, like, have a point of reference that is way earlier and way more like vulnerable than pretty much like literally most people, like you and Rob.
Hell yeah, and that's something that I value because I feel like I done seen the real growth. You know, like a lot of your fans, you know, previous to like Instant Rush and Scunner around that time period. Like once things like really, really started to pick up steam for you, I feel like a lot of people, you know, potentially don't fully understand. Because like I hold you in this regard as like, you know, you're a great writer and you're an excellent producer. But a lot of people don't know that like if it comes down to some bars type shit, that you are a dope-ass fucking rapper.
I really appreciate that. It's weird because, like, okay, so that's what I was going to get at is, like, you have this point of reference where you can kind of be like, oh, well, like, he's kind of straying away from that initial type of shit and mindset that he had until now, I guess, whatever I'm doing now. But at this point, it's like, because, like, you know, the main thing is, like, challenge. That's the thing that, like, really keeps me going is, like, always being, like, challenging myself and trying new shit and trying to execute things, like, exactly how I want. And so with, like, I guess that mentality of, like, hip-hop and having bars and shit, like, I had that for so long, and then I kind of realized, like, you know, creatively, to have all these rules, like, this is a very, like, self-limiting thing. And then it became, like, less fun over time to be like, well, it's got to be in between this tempo, and it has to have this kind of drums and this approach to it. I have to have it be made on pads, and, like, it's got to be dope. Like, it's got to be fucking dope. And, like, you know, like, the thing that I think is so crazy about that as I've grown up is, like, you go to one of those things, and then it's just like a bunch of dudes. You know, it's just like a bunch of dudes hanging out. And there are no girls trying to fuck. And there's, like, people trying to one-up, like, doing ciphers. Like, let's get a cipher going. You know what I mean? And, like, so that all became, like, very kind of, like, stale and cornball to me. But now I'm at this point where, like, I've been away from it for so long that one thing that I really want to do is have, like create my magnum opus of, like, hip-hop, like jazzy hip-hop, you know what I mean? Because I've been so far removed from it for so long. Well, I'm, like, dipping my toes in the water. I'm working on a record right now with my favorite producer in the whole world, Mocha Only. And that's been a long time.
Canada, right?
Yeah, in Vancouver, one of the founding members of Swanglin members. But his whole approach to, like, writing and production being kind of like do any fucking sound you want to, make music with anything, use your songs and your albums as kind of like a diary to snapshot your life, you know. That had a really big impact on me with even all the shit I'm doing now. And so to create this record with him, what I'm working on now, like, I'm super stoked about it.
I'm excited as a fan to hear that because, like, you talk about my frame of reference having so much depth and time involved. You was working with Mocha Only then, too. So he knows, too.
Because, like, back, I think I met you when I was, like, 17. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that one. But I think, it was, like, 18 or some shit is when I got that beat from him. And, he had a verse on that record, too. But
yeah, he sure
now
did.
I'm doing this. It's going to be mad long. It's going to be, like, 20 songs, too. Because all the past couple projects I've released have all been between, like, 12, 10, 15 at the most. And I used to drop those tapes that were, like, mad fucking big and all over the place.
Hell yeah.
I gotta get some beats.
We could talk about them projects all day. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. On the Swanglin Show, it's a, like, honor, you know what I'm saying, to have you on the line and chop game with you. If you're an artist and you're listening to the Swanglin Show, you need to rewind what this motherfucker just said about being stale and being in routines and challenge yourself, because it will pay off. You'll be a better artist. That's one thing for sure. And now, since we're going to transition the topic, we're going to talk about an artist in specific. We're going to talk about the homeboy, Mr. Rage, on the Swanglin Show. Rozz Dyliams, what's your favorite Mr. Rage record?
hands down, That's Nasty 3.
Oh, Trace.
That's
Why
my
That's
absolute
Nasty
favorite.
3?
That's Nasty 3 has all of my favorite songs. Like, it has I See You Fuckboy. I still listen to that shit all the time, man. I got that shit on my desktop right now.
Oh, yeah. And we still see you fuckboys. Rest in peace, Mr. Rage.
Rest in peace, Mr. Rage. Well, that's why also, like, it was so, just, like, great. Like, it was such a great feeling to have you produce that song that was on that mixtape that I dropped, the You Don't Want No Drama.
Yes, that can be heard on Rozz Dyliams.
From the Hamlet song.
Album. Yeah.
And then you also did that Sex Traffic Afghanistan. That's a funny ass song.
Also,
that song is jokes through and through. But yeah, I really like that shit. That's Nasty 3. I play a lot. A lot of the songs from Number 5 I like too.
Hell yeah. Number 5 is the joint we put out posthumously. That was after he had passed.
Yeah. Trash Lord. Like, I still put on the Trash Lord too.
Oh God. And the Bathe Me. Do you remember Bathe Me?
Yeah. It's your turn to bathe me.
Oh God.
Hell yeah, I remember that shit, man. I know all of this. I don't just remember it. I know it.
Oh God. This is one of the wildest individuals ever placed on the fucking face of the planet. You know what I mean? And, like, you did some production work for him on the Arkansas album, Body Part Diaries, that you can check out.
I did some mad, like, sussly offensive horrorcore types. Like, I was saying, like, shit like KGP type shit.
Oh,
but
God.
I love.
You guys got a record together specifically that is so fucking live that never got released because it was so live. That, like, I know you know what song
he did one with Capital G.
No, I'm talking about you produced a record for Rage that was so wild that I had to talk him out of releasing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what song I'm talking about.
That was a good call on your part, though. Honestly, like,
yeah.
No filter.
Yeah. Yeah. No filter whatsoever. But during that time period, bro, he had this angle where, like, he wanted to bait and switch the Republican Party and the Catholic Church nationally, and he wanted to use that record to do it. And I'm like, dude,
that's the fucking record to do it with. Like,
oh, he's a genius for sure. The troll level is uncanny. But if you're listening to the Swanglin Show, you're probably like, what the fuck is this dude talking about? But trust me, you never want to hear this. You know what I'm saying? You do want to hear it because it's a slapper, but you will be.
But if you
will be in your feelings. Disclaimer:
if you hear that song, the song mentioned currently, like, you'll die the next day or something. I feel like that's like a cursed song. Like, there's some weird energy that is trapped in that song.
Oh God.
But hey, speaking of Mr. Rage and the Jonesboro, West Memphis camp, like, what happened to Rue?
Rue is still around. I just talked to Rue the other day. He works at Arkansas State University. Shout out to Rue. If you're
Shout out
listening
to Rue,
show,
the biggest green jelly fan on the face of the earth.
On the face of the earth, and I know that Rue's listening. If you guys are listening to Swanglin Show, there's a pretty good chance that you are familiar with the character Tricky Rick, who is the conspiracy logo. The person behind that mask in the visuals, that is Rue. So y'all know Rue, even if you don't know Rue. Rue is a longtime great friend of our homie Mr. Rage. Rue doesn't get nearly as much love in the world as he should. So shout out to Donald Bearden, Rue, representing Jonesboro, Arkansas.
I need to.
For sure.
I still need to get some of those rare Rage, Beyond the Grave acapellas. I'm trying to do a rage joint.
That is something that we could definitely make happen, because I feel like a lot of the reason, like outside of myself and Rob, you're like the only person that could get that from a producer standpoint, because I trust you with that. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't just know Mr. Rage, you knew Ryan. You know what I'm saying? So you would know how to flex that the right way. So we can do that, bro. You heard it here first on the Swanglin Show.
You have so much music of his that I haven't even heard. And it's like I think about that shit all the time, man.
I'm definitely going to have to bless your email with some goodies once we get off this phone call, just for shits and gigs, you know what I'm saying? But, like, a lot of people don't realize, because, like, a lot of your notoriety and a lot of your buzz and momentum happened after you moved away from here. So a lot of cats, like, in the underground scene, and a lot of cats maybe even locally here, don't really know that Dylan was
while we're still, like, kind of on it, shout out to Mitch and shout out to Freaky J, Money Mitch and Freaky J.
Yeah, Marinated Mitch. Shout out to Marinated Mitch. True Definition album coming soon. I know you've been hearing that in the background banging in these previous episodes. Shout out Freaky J and Steel Rider Posse Music Group. Those are my homies for sure.
Conspiracy. I forgot my conspiracy chain.
Yo.
Freaky J hit me up.
I got one too.
He's fucking dope.
Yeah, Freaky is the man. You produced that one of his biggest songs, man. I Can't Get Away. That's a Dylan Ross beat.
Yeah. There's going to be
from way back in the day.
This is going to like spark some critical digging. Some archaeology is happening at the moment.
Oh, you're going to be like Jeff Goldblum, but way cooler.
I'm super stoked, though, because I really, like, I wanted to have some sort of platform to bring this sort of, like, shit that nobody understands. It's like there's, like, I feel like to a lot of people that are supporters of my music that I appreciate a lot, like from the farthest you can find back to present, like there's kind of like these big missing chunks, and this kind of is just I hope it provides a little bit more some context as to why I'm such a fucked up person, I guess.
Well, I feel like if I contributed to you being a fucked up person in any way, if I contributed in any way, I'm not sorry whatsoever.
No, you did, and I know you're not.
It's just part of who I am, man. You know, it's conspiracy family. You know what I'm saying? You've been in my home. You've been in the homes of my family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're friends with my brother. You're friends with my sister.
Your brother fucking did all the black on my arm.
Oh, shit, I forgot about that. Yeah, shout out to my brother, Dom.
This is so rare.
It's crazy. Sometimes things just come all in that big circle, you know?
Yeah.
Now.
Let's hit another transition. Okay, here we go.
What we're going to do on the Swanglin Show, we got very special guest, Rozz Dyliams, a.k.a. Dylan Ross, a.k.a. Baby D. Let's talk about the nickname Baby D, man. Tell the people where this came from if they're not hip already.
Baby D, a lot of people don't understand this. This doesn't have anything to do with the Baby D from Atlanta. This is Baby D from England, from the early 90s, who was a UK pop singer. And then I adopted this alias around the time that I was, like, in between the mixtape I did before Gale for a Speech and then when I was doing Gale for a Speech, because so much of the influence of that sound of, like, the breakbeat house and, like, the early rave shit, a lot of that is just straight inspired from the original Baby D, who was part of the production house label. And I just have had that as a part of my thing for so long now. Baby D.
Oh, and Baby D is a beast on them. It's crazy because it's like an alter ego almost in a way. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like...
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm also bringing it back.
Like on those type of records, you know?
Yeah. I'm currently working on Gale Force Beats, too. I've been, like, saying that I was going to drop this record for, like, 2 years, and I think that they're starting to get pissed off, man.
Oh, can we put a date on it, on the Swanglin Show?
A date? I don't... Okay. This puts me in a weird position, though. I'm trying to get it out by September. I'd like to have it out by September. So I want to say a tentative release date of like mid-September if everything goes swimmingly and according to plan.
You heard it here first on the Swanglin Show. On Joshua Dunn's birthday, September 12th, Dylan Rozz. Gale Force Beats 2. The gift from the gods.
I'm trying to drop mad projects this year, too.
You got anything else in the works that you can talk about?
That Light Shows Darkness 2 with Perp Dog. That's going to be me and Perp Dog's 4th collaborative full album. And
you guys got bomb-ass work together, too.
Yeah, we just kind of, it's just a natural thing. Like, but, you know, it's like how it works pretty much with any artist that I make good music with. We're just friends, you know, like, I feel like that's very critical. It's like you kind of have to be emotionally invested to a certain extent to really be able to understand each other.
Right?
Yeah, he did Judas Cradle, too. And then the last one we did was Derelicts, Marauders, Savages. And this next one, it's going to be a lot of singing, too. It's going to be more laid back, kind of trippy, singing type shit.
Like a fucking...
So, yeah, I'm super stoked to share that. We're for sure going to drop a song from Light Shows Darkness 2, hopefully in the next, like, maybe 2 weeks or so.
Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Shout out to Perp Dog, who is an amazing producer. If you're not hip to Perp Dog and you're listening, you need to pop up your browser, type in PURPDOGG, and you're going to find you some hot-ass music. You need to type in Rozz Dyliams on your motherfucking browser tab on your Spotify. Any place where you're banging your music, you need to check this dude out. I've been rocking with you for a long motherfucking time. It's great to have you on the Swanglin Show. Like I said, I feel like you should have been guesting on episode 1, you know?
I'm happy to finally get this one in the bag, too, because I wanted to do this shit for a while, not just like last week, because I've been seeing this shit. Who else do you have planned for this show? Who you got up next?
I've been trying to get the Pope. They're not really feeling me. I tried to get the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. They weren't feeling me either. So if you're part of Ted DiBiase,
no man, get the
when you're listening, we can talk about God and shit too. You know, we can talk about whatever on the Swanglin Show. So keep your eyes peeled if you're listening, your ears open, and you never know who could be on the Swanglin Show. I mean, of course, you know, there's people that are close to the team that, you know, have yet to get their shine on the Swanglin Show. People you mentioned earlier, such as Marinated Mitch, Millions of True Definition, and Freak. You know, we just got a lot of shit coming. We're going to have more CJ De Niro in the house. We're going to have more Caviar Dick is returning to the Swanglin Show. You know, we got a lot of stuff planning and brewing, but for the most part, I think we're going to kick some knowledge, you know, just me and the good old buddy Kyle, you know. We're going to keep it real limited on the guest appearances, you know. we got plenty of stories that we can talk about with, doing shows all over the place and, different life experiences and our interests. I feel like we got a good base on the Swanglin Show to talk about all types of crazy shit. Speaking of crazy shit, do you remember, when we was in the lab, it was me and you and Rob Digital, and we were in Columbus and had like this 5-day studio sesh. We made a bunch of songs, right? And I had this puppy at the time, the cheetah.
Rita?
With the long nails. And she was scratching the shit out of everybody.
Yep.
And she ate my fucking bathroom counter. Do you remember that shit?
Yeah, I remember that shit. I remember that whole shit.
Rest in peace to Rita.
Because, like, we had food in the fridge at the beginning of that whole week, and then, like, at the end of the week, me and Rob were, like, eating mayonnaise sandwiches and drinking, like, blue juice.
Oh, yeah. That
shit was wild.
Yeah, the blue juice. If juice is blue, then it's not fucking juice at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that was a fun time.
Man, I left that bitch with, like, a stomach ulcer or something, I swear to God. Just too much blue juice is what it was.
Oh, yeah. We sugared you up real good. Got you in the studio for 5 days. We didn't do shit, really, but write songs about how fucking dope we were. And pretty much just smoked weed for, like, days at a time. And it was a
headlights. The pulling out the semi.
Yeah, the semi-giant remix. We got something.
That was good.
From back in the day.
I love that song, man.
I love all those songs. I feel like my favorite song out of all of those joints, though, is You Know It's Going Down, the Rob Digital produced joint. I love that song.
Yeah, so the thing about that song, though, is, like, it's so Midwest. Like, that song was, like, an old school, like, Midwest song, even when, at that time, it was, like, from 2012. That was, like, some shit that would come out in, like, 2001 or something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think that's why I love it so much, is just because it's, like, it's not like a joint that we ever, like, when we made it, we're like, oh, yeah, we're going to fucking, this is the one. You feel me? But it's like, I don't know.
Well,
to me, like,
no, but
if that starts playing in my car, bro, I ain't changing.
The thing that I like about that song so much, and what I kind of try to capture now even, is, like, like Joker the bail bondsman?
Yeah, the dude from Alaska.
Yeah, so that song, like, puts me in that kind of headspace. You know what I mean? Like, the whole vibe of the beat that he made. I love that shit.
Speaking of,
we gotta get in there again.
Preference. What is some type of shit that you're listening to lately? Like, what can someone find in your tape deck or CD player or iPod or however you consume music?
So, I am really big jazz nerd. So a lot of my shit that I'm listening to is, I'm always listening to jazz, mostly like fusion and like the kind of late 70s, early 80s, Michael Franks, David Sanborn type, Spyro Gyra type of shit. And in addition to that,
so, like, you're not talking about like a Herb Alpert type jazz. You're talking about shit.
Probably more in the realm of like Chick Corea or like the early 80s Herbie Hancock. I like a lot.
Right.
And so what you'll always find,
song Fickle Funk. I love this,
dude. What you'll always find in my tape deck is usually something that is related to whatever I'm kind of trying to like focus on production wise or like catch a vibe from. So right now, I've been getting into more of like the big gospel music, you know, where they have like mad like slap bass and keyboards and shit, like the bigger like black churches like Hezekiah Walker, like Brother Hezekiah Walker is really dope, and Eric Robertson is really good. I like that like big gospel, feel good gospel music. And then I'm always listening to a lot of like SWV and John B and H-Town. H-Town is always in my tape deck. I got a separate tape deck just for H-Town.
Where are you knocking the boots? To knocking the boots.
Who am I knocking the boots with?
We don't need to know your business. You know what I'm saying? I'm just asking, were you? Is this the soundtrack? Can people have the visual of Rozz Dyliams making love to knocking the boots? Can you give them that?
No, because I would not be knocking the boots to knocking the boots. I'd be knocking the boots to emotion.
Yo. If you're listening right now to the Swanglin Show and you got a vagina, don't even sit here and act like you're not fucking marinated after what just came out of this man's mouth. You know what I'm saying?
You know the song I'm talking about, right? Emotions?
Yeah. I know exactly.
Emotions make you sad sometimes. Yeah, and then but I will Fever for the Flavor. Yes. Begging After Dark. Sex Bowl. Yeah. There we go. Sex Bowl. Also.
What about Fuck Plate? The opposite of the Sex Bowl. Is Fuck Plate a thing?
The Fuck Plate?
Yeah.
That's when you get home and you're just pissed off and you break the plate and then your girl comes in and what's wrong? That's the Fuck Plate that gets you the Sex Bowl.
It's like, yeah, pretty much, and it leads into a fucking spoon. You know, the whole thing. We got Rozz Dyliams on the line on the Swanglin Show. It's awesome to chop it up with you on the fucking show. What is something, this video, you were telling me that you got a video that's coming that will be out by the time you put out this episode of the Swanglin Show. Drop. What's this video that's popping?
Well, like what's popping with the video in general?
Yes, sir. Yeah, what is the video? It is the song.
Oh, it's
your new album, track 5.
Yep, it is a video for the song Sorry off of Epiphania, which is the latest release. And the song is produced by Jaguar Claw, who's a really dope producer from California that I fuck with really heavy, who also had some other work on the record. The song You, Me, and the Dog, we both did the beat for that one. And I got a couple of songs that have yet to be released that are produced by Jaguar Claw. And so basically I'm just in the kitchen chopping shit up and rapping at the same time.
Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing the projects that you got coming. I always look forward to hearing your projects because it's like, I know, like, there's a lot of people whose music that I've listened to over like a span of years, right? But like, You're the only one that when I know that you have an album coming out, regardless of if I see the artwork beforehand or have some insight, I never really know what I'm going to get. And I always like it.
Well,
you know
that's good, though. But
I never really know what it's going to be, you know? Because, like, I know, like you said, I got this vested interest. Like, I've seen so many different things sonically that you've created. It's, like, especially from a production standpoint. I know that you're a very intelligent dude. You know, you pull things from obscurity from time to time that really shouldn't work, and they do work. Like, and it's a testament to your skill.
So, like, you're one of the people that can see, like, okay, like, I'll drop the cover, and then you'll be like, what the fuck is that? But then when the actual album drops, you'll be like, oh, okay, now that like kind of makes sense, you know. Like, even with this last one that I dropped, Epiphania, like, the cover is like kind of like misleading, but then when you listen to it and put it in context, it's like, it just like makes sense.
And I feel like like you were saying earlier, like it always has like a time period progression to where like it's never, because you put things out in bodies, so it's like a certain style will sit with you for a minute, and then the next one will come, and you'll be like, what the fuck? And it'll throw you off at first, and then as soon as the familiarity hits, the whole project is like, you know, brand fucking new, just ill as fuck. So it's like,
for sure. Well, I mean,
I respect for you at that level.
I try to drop singles here and there now, because that's just kind of how the shit works. It's kind of with our streaming services and everything. It's more so like dominated by singles now, and just even people's attention span, like real like supporters and heads that fuck with you and like the whole vision and everything will have the attention span for that, but most people just in general don't. But it just doesn't feel right to me. Like I got to do the whole album deal, you know.
Man, and I've seen you like legit, like when like something will light a fire in you, and then boom, it's the album. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't even like really dropping EPs, honestly, because I'm like, I always think like, well, I could just add like a couple more things and sit on this for a little bit and turn it into a dope album. But then I'm also like, I have the curse of feeling like if I sit on it for even just like a little bit too long, then I'm going to wake up the next day and listen to it, and it will all be dated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the ultimate struggle, you know what I mean, of being somebody that's literary just in general. You know what I mean? Like you would sit back and reflect upon it and be like, it's dated to you. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
I deal with that all
the
time.
You ever go through, like, that's what I was going to say, old books and just, like, throw away verses that you never got to, and you're like, damn, this shit is dope, and it would work now, but, like, nah, because I know it's too old. Yeah. I'll feel weird about it every time I hear it.
Oh, yeah. And shit. We used to do that shit in the lab, like, do 3/4 of a song, and then we would just be so stoned that we'd fucking move on or do something else, and then like 3 weeks later we'll still like, damn, that's the hardest thing I ever did, but fuck that, I did it 3 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and then a year later drop the half done song.
Yeah, real shit. I mean, you know, you go through those type of phases, you know, when they're making music and creating shit in general. Now on the Swanglin Show, it's always customary that we give the floor to our very special guests that come on the show, and we just let you shout out your people. Tell the people where they can catch you at all social media, what you got coming, just lay it on out.
You can get at me on Instagram, Twitter, at Rozz Dyliams, ROZZDYLIAMS. Instagram, SoundCloud, all that shit, all the same thing. You can just find it. I got Epiphania, my latest record. You can get vinyls, CDs. We're about to do a cassette release and a tracksuit release with Black House Records, which is a really great independent record label that does my distribution based out of Spokane, Washington. So shout out to Scott from Black House for putting out this record and having my name next to Razzcast on the roster, who's one of my favorite lyricists of all time, and hooking me up with that Soul on Ice 2 test pressing. I want to give a big shout out to my boy Crime Wave and Grim Burton, who, as a trifecta, make up the gruesome world that is known as Handsome. And that's it. I love y'all, and I was really happy to fucking do this finally, man.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel like every day, bro, I go in the bathroom, like, when I start my day, and I'm, like, brushing my fucking teeth, and I look in the mirror, and I'm like, damn, I should be on Handsome Records, dog. Real shit.
Well, we got to get some shit going, man. You need to get on that same recording hustle that I'm on.
You want to know what, man? I can't even do it, bro. I'm going to leave it to the professionals, like Rozz Dyliams, come up here on the Swanglin Show.
I feel like you bathe too much, man. You're too clean.
You want to know what? I do smell pretty good, and like my hairs are long right now, so I'm feeling like fucking young Fabio. That's why I was like, Handsome Records. I feel like I just fit in,
Yo, you gotta break out that old puka shell.
Hey, on the cool, though, I really appreciate you calling in and chopping game with me on episode 11 of the motherfucking Swanglin Show, bitch.